It's the challenge that maybe you were facing. When I do this live with people, we have a live event, I'll have you do this together and kind of role play it. And the feedback that I get is, wow, this person's just like me. This person has the same doubts, fears, anxiety that I have. This person, underneath all of this stuff, we're all pretty much the same. We share the same challenges and doubts and fears. And when you connect with another human being and you show your authentic self and you share that pain, they're willing to listen to the rest. So I have people do this a couple times, and then and what Pete and Pat talk about, this story braid framework, which they'll mention to you. It's emotion and story with some information, and then emotion and story again. And that's what your background and your pain, you found a solution, is in the middle, and at the end is that you're excited about your future. This is just a way for you to tell your story. Now, as you do this, we're going to give you a challenge to tell your story, to go on social with a hashtag and tell your story and share it with the world. And even, you got to practice it, whatever, even if it's rough, it's not perfect, doesn't matter. You should be able to tell your story in less than 2 minutes. When I did it in the hotel meetings, I learned how to do it in like 45 seconds. But in 2 minutes, you can build a friendship and a connection with another human being that builds trust. And when that trust is built, you're going to be able to transfer belief with more stories, with more information, with more experience. You're going to be able to transfer belief. So I want you to think about right now these 4 elements. And if you haven't written them down, write them down somewhere. What's your background? Write it down. What's some of the challenges about that background? Maybe it was time, maybe it's stress, maybe it's not being appreciated, maybe it's not earning the money that you're earning, maybe there's no upward mobility, maybe it's a negative, toxic environment, whatever. I don't know what it is for you, but you describe that you found a solution. Pat, come in and talk about this in terms of some of their comments, and then we're going to give you a challenge on this today, which is going to lead us to tomorrow. We're going to lead to some of the other parts of this pyramid that Pete described. And isn't that a beautiful shape, that little pyramid shape? We're going to share some of the other elements of being a great presenter to you over the course of these 3 days. But Pete, let me throw it back to you and get yours and Pat's comments on what I just shared with everyone.
Yeah, man, Eric, it's incredible. Like, stories, 2 minutes can land you more distributors, more customers than anything else that you do in your business. It absolutely can. Like, 2 minutes. My career was launched with telling a story 3 minutes on a Brendan Burchard stage. And the amount of things that happen as a result of that were so powerful. And so, like Eric said, facts tell, stories sell. People can get facts, they can get facts galore everywhere. Like, they can just get facts everywhere. They can go find education everywhere. But for somebody to move you with a story and to kind of show you that, yeah, I've been in your shoes before, without even having to state that. What Eric just taught you is basically saying, hey, I've been in your shoes before, but I've gone somewhere that you probably desire to go. And what people find themselves in is they find themselves in your story. And so, Pat, I'm going to go a little bit deeper, but I want to welcome to the stage, because I think, Pat, the 4 elements of what Eric just talked about are phenomenal. And I think there's some things, because we want to help get people prepared to share their story. I don't care if they're making $1 million or no dollars today. I want them to begin to really take their storytelling to the next level. And they're going to be sharing here in a little bit. And so PQ, guys, will y'all give some love in the chat? You saw him at GoPro. He is a savant, and he is very savantish, has gotten to work with people like Eric and Marina and Damon John and Dean and Tony and so many other people. But Pat, what would you do to help just get folks ready around the framework that Eric just laid out? And why don't you take it for about 8 to 10 minutes and help support and get everybody prepared to start sharing their stories today?
Thanks, Pete, and thanks, Eric, for the opportunity to be here today. I love this topic because telling your story is so important, and getting good at this is really important for your business. The first thing I want to do is just say to everyone watching this, your story is enough. And as you look at this 4-part framework that Eric just masterfully laid out for us, if you're sitting there saying, well, my background is too ordinary, ordinary is better than extraordinary. Having a background that's relatively ordinary, even having pain that's relatively ordinary, that's one of your greatest strengths, not a weakness. And so I want you to know that your story is enough. You don't have to pretend to be somebody else. You don't have to pretend to talk like Eric or have a story like Pete or Pat's. You can just tell your story. And the more ordinary, here, let me tell you this. If you have a 1 in a million story, how many people are you going to help? How many people are going to join your team? 1 in a million. But if you have a 1 in every household story, you're going to have a lot bigger audience. You're going to have a lot more impact. You're going to help a lot more people. And so recognize that your story is enough. And the second thing I want you to recognize before we even start is your story won't be perfect. And that's perfect. You don't want your story to be perfect. Nobody wants to join a team with perfect people, because then I feel bad about myself, and then I feel like I don't keep up and I can't fit in. So I want you just to tell your story even before it is perfect. I want you to tell your story with ums and ahs, with forgetting part of it and then remembering that part later. I want you to screw it up lots of times, because until you screw it up lots of times, you're never going to get really good at this. If you wait until your story is perfect, you will never tell it. If you wait until you're ready, you're never going to go on Facebook later today and share your story with this group. I want you to get out there and tell your story now. Screw it up many times, because the more times you do that, the better you're going to get. And you're just going to get better and better and better at telling your story. When you look at that 4-part framework that Eric just laid out, let's talk about each of the parts. I'm going to give you 1 or 2 things that you can do to really add some punch to your story. The first is your background. You don't want to go too long in this part. I think the temptation is to start like the day you were born and fill us in on everything you've done since the day you were born, and that would be a mistake. If your story starts, I was born at a very young age, you're doing it wrong, okay? We just need the highlights here. And remember the purpose of this first 2 sections. The purpose of these first 2 sections is to connect. And so if you have something in your background that is like the person that you're talking to, if you're talking to a parent, might want to mention your kids. If you're talking to someone who has the same profession or went to the same college, might want to mention that. If you're talking to somebody who's from the same part of the country or has had a struggle that you've had, might want to mention that, because the purpose is to connect. So keep it short and highlight the parts that are similar to the people that you're talking to. Let's talk about the second thing, the things you don't like or did not like about your life at that time or didn't like about your background. The hard parts. Limit your list to 3. Great speaking, all lists are 3. The brain is a funny thing. I studied how the brain listens and how the brain learns. I've studied how the person who you're talking to is hearing what you're saying. And one of the things that happens is when your list gets longer than 3, and you add a 4th thing to the list and then a 5th thing to the list, you're probably thinking, oh, they won't remember those last 2. Or maybe you're thinking they'll remember those last 2, but they'll forget the first 2. Neither one is true. When you add a 4th one and a 5th one to the list, the human brain actually throws all 5 of them out. The human brain says, too much, can't do it, and it stores them in another place where it doesn't remember them. As soon as your list gets longer than 3 or 4, our brain gives up and says, not even going to try, and I won't remember those. That's why every list that you give, lists of the bad things, lists of the good things, lists of the benefits, lists of the costs, any list that you give should always be the best 3. the most connecting 3. Remember your purpose of these first 2 sections, to connect with the people that you're talking to. So along with your background and the second part, the things that you do not like about that situation or did not like about that situation, highlight the ones that will be most like the person you're talking to. If you had loneliness and weren't surrounded with community, and you think the person who you're talking to is experiencing that, highlight that one. If working too much and seeing your family too little was one of yours, and you think that's true for the person you're talking to, highlight that one. Highlight the ones from your story that connect with the person you're talking to. And if you're speaking to a group, pick the most common ones. But if you're speaking to an individual, do a little homework. My kids would call it creeping. Creep on them a little bit and figure out what their pain points are and try to highlight those as well. So those are the first 2 sections. The purpose is to connect. Don't go too long. Limit your list of pain points to 3, which brings us to the pivot point. Part 3 is I found something. I found something. And then you share with them what you found. Here's the key to this section. You got to change your voice in this section, and you should lean in a little bit. Okay. And so if you were speaking back here, when you get to section 3, I want you to lean in about 6 inches. Works just as good across the table at Starbucks as it does on stage, as it does on Zoom, as it does in a living room with 4 people. Okay. Just lean in a little bit when you get to this part, because you're going to share a secret. And that will naturally cause the audience to lean in toward you. And so that's what, and then the second thing you want to do is change your voice. You should pick up your pace, pick up your volume, and instead of turning your voice down at the end of every sentence, turn your voice up at the end of every sentence. So when you're talking about the things that you don't like, I was working too much. Lower your volume, lower your voice. I was not seeing my family enough. Lower your pace, lower your volume, lower your tone. But then I discovered something. Then I found something. A friend invited me to a meeting. Now pick up your pace, pick up your volume, and pick up your tone. This is where your voice changes. And that will help cue the audience that the story is taking a turn. We've hit the bottom and the story is starting to turn up. And that's going to get them to lean in and listen extra close. Which brings us to the 4th part. The 4th part is how you feel about the future. And a couple things I want to say here. The first one is this isn't facts, just numbers facts. Like now I'm making more money, now I'm working fewer hours. Those are facts, but that's not what this one is. You can mention those, but what you should emphasize isn't the facts. You should emphasize how you feel about those facts. So instead of saying now I'm making more money, why don't you say now I don't worry about the bills every month? And my wife is thrilled with being able to go on vacation. Like talk about the feelings, not just the facts. Now I work less hours. That's a fact. Now I love being able to attend every one of my kids' school programs. Now I love being able to have time to visit my parents more often. Those are feelings that you're having, not just facts. And so make sure you have facts, feelings, and not just facts there. And then one last thing I'll add to this section. If you haven't been in the game that long, you still have how you feel about the future. A lot of people are hesitant to tell their story because they're just getting started. And I believe even 7 days in, you have a story to tell. You may not have made big money yet. You may not have signed up a single person yet, but it can change how you feel about the future. You can have more enthusiasm, more community. You can have more opportunity. You can have more optimism and confidence. You can change those feelings quickly. And so if you are just 5 days into this business, if you are just 2 weeks into this business, don't be like, oh, I haven't made it big yet. Oh, I don't have a team of 100 yet. Don't worry about that because you're telling how you feel about the future. You don't have to ever apologize or hesitate to tell your story. And Pete, one thing that I know and I have learned over the years is that your story is enough. And ordinary stories of people who are just getting started, but their attitude and their confidence has changed. Ordinary stories of people whose backgrounds aren't stuff that books will be written about, but are stuff that everybody else experiences in this day and age or around here or with this background. Those are the most powerful stories when they're told. And what I see too often is people are afraid to tell them. People don't think they're good enough stories. They have what I call story envy. And what they don't realize is that they're sitting on a gold mine. That story, because it is so connecting, so common, and so optimistic and confidence building, that story is what's going to grow your business, grow your team, and make the future wide open for anything you want to accomplish.
Yeah, Pat, that's so good, guys. Like everything that Pat just said, comboed with what Eric said, like the two of that combined is so profound and so powerful. And this is what I want you guys to know before we start talking about the homework assignment here in just a couple of minutes, and probably take a few questions here on Facebook as well. But listen, it literally is stories. Somebody told me the other day, or maybe it was somebody in this community. I heard it, it was about a month ago. And I heard it like we measure the amount of times that we work out. We measure the amount of time, how many pounds that we lose. We measure all these measurements. What if we started keeping track of how many times we shared our story? Might have been Eric. It might have been Pat. I don't know who it was. It might have been Pat, but I heard it from someone. And it was so profound because I was like, yes, yes. You see, I was on Brendan's stage and I hadn't made any money. I didn't have a big business. My business was just starting in 2015, Pat. I was overweight. I was sweating. I was shaking. I was nervous. Many of you in the GoPro Recruiting Challenge saw the picture. And I was in my mind, like a lot of you are in your mind right now, saying, who wants to hear my story? There's nothing crazy about it. It was just real. It's authentic. And as I got up there with all of the noise going on in my head and thinking about sweating and shaking, and my wardrobe was awful, and I just like all of those things, I shared my story. And Brenda, or at, weeks later, months later, the people in that room were some of my very first customers in my business. Pat Quinn was at my very first thing that we ever did, and half of the room was in Brendan's room where they heard me tell my 3-minute story. It might have been 2 minutes, my 2-minute story, 2 or 3, and I can't remember. But here's what I want you to know. Brendan asked me a question. He said, you've had to practice a lot. I said, Brendan, I was in my hotel room looking in a mirror, practicing it probably 50, 60, 70 times in the last 2 days. And he said, I could tell. Like, I really believe that. Keep track. I believe the person who's going to win, the person who's going to build their business, is the person who understands how to grow in their communication around telling their story. And I would keep track of how many times you're telling your story, because I think you're going to be able to see some data like, man, every 5 times I share my story, I'm seeing a new distributor, every 10 times or every 4 times or every 3 times. And here's what's going to happen, Pat. At the beginning, it's going to be like, I got to share my story 10 times before I see a new person come into my business. But all of a sudden you begin to get better and more powerful and more profound. And all of a sudden, it's like every 3 times I share my story, I know it means a new person's coming into my business. And not giving you those as real data or actual data that we know. I'm giving that to you as one of the most important things to gaining new business is sharing your story. It's sharing your story. And let me tell you how you get out of your own mind and overcome the fear. And I'm not powerful enough. Here you go. Simple hack. Think about the person you're speaking to versus thinking about yourself. Think about for a minute, like Eric and I did this. Eric and I told you this, like I took Eric through this process a few times. Eric is a powerful presenter, but I'm like, Eric, like we talked about the GoPro accelerator. Many of you, how many accelerators are out there? If you're an accelerator on Facebook right now, drop it in the comments section. I want to see you. I want to see you. Drop it in the comments section. But as Eric talked about the accelerator program, you know what Eric wasn't thinking about? He wasn't thinking about the price, or was anybody going to want this, or like, is this a good, no, he was thinking about, I can change that person's life who's listening to me. I know something, I've been somewhere, I've had an experience that will have me change this person's life. And because he was thinking about changing somebody's life and not about all of his worries or concerns or any of the noise that goes on in all of our minds, he was able to present so powerfully and eloquently because he was thinking about the person on the other end. Listen, today, a lot of you, Eric, a lot of these people, Eric, they're going to share their story in the group today, and people's lives are going to be impacted as they share their story today. There's other people that are going to be impacted. And so, Eric, I want to, if you're cool with it, I want to throw something crazy out there, but I know we've got, I'd love to give away at least one ticket to Presentation Power Workshop, which is which is retailed at $5,000. I'd at least love to give one away. I'm not going to say we couldn't give maybe one or two, but one for sure, based on people beginning to share their story today. Let's give, I know that's here at the end of the month. Let's give away at least one ticket. And if somebody already has it, they can gift it to somebody else in their organization or their company. But it's got to start by them sharing their story today, Eric. It's got to start by them sharing their story. So you set the framework, Eric. I want everybody in there to make sure they put #mystory.
Yeah. So let's give them the instructions. You throw me on there. What we want people to go on to social and to tell their story using this 4-part structure that we provided today. And we want them to put #mystory. Okay. If you do put a #mystory, we're going to, let's even add to that. Let's give away 20 tickets to GoPro, and at least one Presentation Power Workshop ticket. That's a $5,000 ticket. The GoPro tickets are $500. So 20 of those, it's $10,000. So it's $15,000 we'll give away today, just for people to go and tell your story. Do it messy, do it unperfect, whatever, but go live or record it any way you want to do it. Pat, do you have any feedback to these people as far as what they need to do and as far as how to go tell their story when they do that #mystory?
No, the most important thing is to be yourself, keep it under 2 minutes, and connect with the people you're speaking to. This is going to be awesome to hear all these different stories. The difference in the stories is what's beautiful about it. If they all sound the same, we're doing something wrong.
Yeah, I would just add, like, if it's your first time sharing it, record it. Don't go live. Record it. Record it and get it right. And Eric, we want them to not just post it out on their social channels, but we also want them to post it in the group. So they're going to post it places.
In the GoPro Challenge group.
Yes.
Go to the GoPro Challenge group. If you're not already in there, if you're watching it someplace else, go in the GoPro Challenge group, post it on your social, but also post it inside the GoPro Challenge group. We're going to be choosing some of the best ones and be able to highlight some of the best ones, provide some coaching to those. We're going to give away some tickets to GoPro. We're going to give away at least one ticket to the GoPro, the Presentation Power Workshop, the 2-day workshop that we're doing out of the big studio, 23rd and 24th of February. Excited about that. That's going to be amazing. But listen, this is step one in getting you to break free. Keep it in the three of us, please. Getting you to break free of hiding your story. We want you to get out in the world and tell your story to the world. And this is step one. We want you to face your fear. We know it's going to be a little nerve-wracking, maybe to do it, but you can do this. You got this. And then tomorrow and on the 10th and on the 11th, we're going to be providing information to you on how to do a perfect presentation, how to get a person launched in their network marketing business, how to train on skills within your organization, how to create your keynote presentation, your signature talk, which these guys are absolute experts at doing. So we're going to be crafting that with you over the course of the next 2 days. So here's what I'm going to tell you. One is accept the challenge. If you accept the challenge, put I'm in into the comments. I'm in. I'm going to tell my story. Even if it's messy, Pat gave me permission to do it. And when it doesn't have to be perfect, I'm going to tell my story and I'm going to post it inside the group. I'm going to face my fear. I'm going to take a step. Okay. That's step number one. You need to hashtag my story. That's where we're going to look for them. Hashtag my story, and also make sure you put it inside the GoPro Challenge Facebook group. Okay. Second thing I will tell you is whoever gets the most here, I want you to challenge your entire team to tell their story. Everybody in your organization. Work with them, coach them, help them, have them tell their story on video and be part of this challenge with you. Because I want you to just think about this. You're going to face your fear and do this, right? Let's say you have 10 people on your team. What if for the next 24 hours, you had them watch this training and you worked with them where they each told their story? I'm going to promise you something. The moment that happens, you have a different team. The moment that happens, those 10 people are going to see possibilities that they never even thought were even real before. They're going to see a future that they didn't even expect. They're going to have people reaching out to them saying, I had no idea about your story. Thank you for telling it. So what if you had a team of 100 and you got them all to tell the story and hashtag my story? What if you had a team of 1,000 and all of them did this over the next 24 hours? An explosion of network marketing positivity around the world. You know, we have something like, 40,000 people in this challenge and it's growing every minute. But what if all of those people got everybody on their teams to tell their story and the world heard 500,000 stories in the next 24 hours? We could absolutely rock the world, and we will. Those of you who take this seriously. And then, I think Pete maybe wants to answer a few questions that are being posted inside of Facebook, but I will tell you, tomorrow, we're going to get into these other presentations, but this is the foundation. You get this done, the others are just a natural progression. You're going to find yourself comfortably sliding into those others. So maybe Pete and Pat, if you guys can answer some questions, I think that might be great.
Yeah. So
guys, if you have a question, throw it into your comments.
Yeah, throw it in the go. And so what you want to do, and I want to make sure you guys understand what's at stake. The most important thing at stake is it's making you step outside of your comfort zone and all of a sudden put yourself out there. And maybe you're not afraid of that. That's awesome. You know what else is at stake? We're going to choose some of the best stories and highlight them on Saturday in a bonus training and coach them. We're going to coach some of the most powerful stories for all of you to be able to hear. So you guys are going to be able to be with us Thursday and Saturday backstage, and we'll send you the details about that. But the people who we will highlight will come from this story challenge. And Eric also said the presentation power workshop, at least one will be given away and 20 GoPro tickets from today's homework assignment. So a lot of technical questions. Just go and record a video, upload it to Facebook and post it and say hashtag my story, one word, put it on your social channels and put it in the GoPro this GoPro challenge group right here that you're in, the group that you're in right now. Post it with the hashtag my story, and hey, go encourage other people as they're sharing their stories. You be an encouragement to them.
I found a solution, and you could talk generically about the solution. Do you need to put me on the screen? Thank you. And how you feel about the future. You can do that generically. So think in terms of that, because we want to share it as examples for everybody. And those commonalities are going to empower and inspire everybody too. Pat, do you have any last feedback before we wrap up today?
There's lots of comments about how nervous people are and the fear that people have around this. And I want to first tell you that's very normal. It's if you haven't shared your story a lot, or even if you have, when you put it out publicly for the first time like this, there's going to be nerves. You know, that's good. That means you understand the stakes. That means that you understand the impact that your story could have, and you want to be good at it. But Pete mentioned something before. Focus on the people who would hear the story, not yourself. And the thing what I would add to that is nobody is an expert on your story more than you are. If I asked you to give a 2-minute presentation on nuclear physics, or I asked you to give a 2-minute presentation on economics, I'd expect it to be a story. And if you focus on that and the fact that somebody who hears this may have their life impacted in a positive way, they need you. They don't just want you to tell your story. They need you to tell the story to have that change in their life that you had in your life. That's going to help you with your nerves. But recognize it's a normal part of the process. Don't forget to breathe in through the nose, out through the mouth, and you'll stop shaking just long enough to record 2 minutes or go live and give us 2 minutes. This is going to be awesome to see all these different stories, Eric.
Yeah. And I would say do it messy. Do it messy. Screw up, stumble, fumble over your words, forget what you were going to say. Doesn't matter. None of that stuff matters. What matters is you just be you, do it messy, follow that simple. I don't care if you say, okay, first thing is I'm supposed to tell you my background. All right. I'm a construction worker. All right. All right. The second thing is I'm supposed to tell you what I didn't like. It's hard on my body. I don't like the weather. The economy changes everything. They don't pay me what I'm worth. And I have to deal with an idiot who sits next to me all day in my construction job. All right. Third thing I'm supposed to say is I found a solution. I found this thing. I don't care if you literally follow the bouncing ball to tell your story. You know, since we were little kids, don't show your weakness. Don't show your pain. You know, don't talk about your problems. You know, you're not leaving people there. I just want you to know this is going to empower people more than anything else. Pete, what comments do you have before I kind of summarize all the assignments?
Yeah, and then if you want to take some questions, we can. You don't have to, but
sure.
But guys, what I would just say is, man, and a lot of you are asking a lot of technical questions. Don't worry about it. Eric just gave you the basics. You want to share it in your native language? Share it in your native language. That's awesome. Yep. That's great. Do that. Keep it under 2 minutes. Don't go long. And the only way that we will be able to review it is if you put the hashtag my story, one word. If you don't put that, we won't be able to review it, which, you know, there's a lot of prizes at stake. And just put yourself out there. This is the foundational block. Get good at telling your story, and then also be great at telling other people in your organization's story. That's where you start. So some of you are like, I don't have the story. Well, get great at telling their story, and then let that build your confidence to get you to be able to create your story. So don't use that as an excuse. You can use somebody else's story. That's the beauty about this, Eric. That's the beauty of this profession. I couldn't come into my new
so many stories
allows you to share your leaders or upline story. So Eric gave you a framework at how you could do that with them until you start making money. and then you can use yours. So don't use that as the
and
block.
let me, and we're kind of answering some questions as we go through this. I want you to understand something. Until you can get out of your head, you're going to be stuck in network marketing. Until you get out of your head and learn how to speak into existence your business, there's only so far you're going to go. So, yes, I know it's scary, but it's probably also scary for you to build a business, right? You're probably also stuck and not having a breakthrough in your life and in your business. This little thing, first of all, when you get out of your head and you start to verbalize this story, everything's going to change for you emotionally. Second thing is you're going to be stunned at how people embrace you differently, how they accept you differently, how they listen to you differently. When you tell the story, you're going to go, oh my gosh, people are kind. Oh my gosh, people are listening. Oh my gosh, people want to hear more. This is amazing. And if you need to see some inspiration, starting as soon as this thing is over, you're going to start seeing stories show up inside of this group, the GoPro Challenge group. Watch those stories. Just watch story after story after story after story after story. Watch 100 of them. Watch 500 of them. To go, what? You know what? It's my turn. Use that to build up your courage. So I want to give you like a 1, 2, 3, 4 assignments, and then I'll let Pat talk, and then we'll have Pete close it up. Assignment number 1: record your story. Record your story and post it into the GoPro Challenge group with the hashtag my story. One word, my story. Number 2, do everything in your power to encourage every single person on your team to do the same thing. Assignment number 3, make sure everyone you know and care about sees this training in the next 24 hours before this. Okay? So those are my 4 assignments. Maybe put those into the comments so you can recap what those assignments are. Pat, what do you say to people? And then I'll let Pete wrap it up.
Hey, there's so many comments flying through right now with questions like, what if we have more than one story? Or can we tell our product story? Or should we tell our business opportunity story? Or what if my story isn't about my background, isn't about my job? Here's a tip for everybody. You can't get this wrong. Like, don't let I might not be perfect stop you from doing this. If your background isn't about your job, that's fine. If you have 2 stories, tell one of them. The only way you can get this wrong, really, is if you don't do it. The only way you can get this wrong is if you let a technical question or a question about, oh, I don't know if this is right, stop you from doing it. So you can't get this wrong. Right before you turn on the camera, just say to yourself, I can't get this wrong. As long as I authentically and truly tell my story, as long as I get it out there, and as long as I don't hit delete as soon as I hit stop recording, I can't get this wrong. And so we just want to hear these stories. And the first time you do it won't be the best time you do it, but you can't have a second time until you have your first time. So Pete, I think we all remember the first time we shared our story with the world and what a difference it made in our lives. The first time we did it wasn't perfect. For many of us, the first time we did it was ugly, but that's part of our journey and it's part of our growth. And it's really the reason that we're here today. And so I just want to continue to encourage people. You can't get this wrong. Just get it out there to the world and good things are going to happen.
Yeah, guys.
And one last thing I want to just throw in before Pete jumps in and wraps up for us is if you smash the share button, I'm going to give away another 10 tickets to GoPro. And we're just going to do a random drawing of anybody who smashes the share button on this video by the end of the day, February 9th. Anybody who smashes the share button, we're going to do a drawing and give away 10 tickets to GoPro. So all you got to do is smash the share button. The other question I'm seeing a lot that Pete, maybe you can answer in the wrap up is, how long does the video have to be and what deadline do they have to submit it?
Yeah, great question. So, hey, everybody. Yeah, thank you, Eric. Hit that share button, everybody. And so listen, here's just kind of closing this out today. It needs to be 2 minutes or less. Like, you want to be concise and get it 2 minutes or less. And you want to have it turned in by the end of the day tomorrow. The end of the day tomorrow. Like, literally, in the next 24 hours is when you want to submit this. We're not going to give you a lot of time to walk through this and do it all. Like, submit it in the next 24 hours, less than 2 minutes. And so, hey, everybody, what an incredible day one. How good was day one? Like, put that out there. Give Pat, give Eric, myself, just give us some feedback on how great day one was. But here's where we're at. Day one, we just scratched the surface. The key to becoming unstoppable and incredible is being an incredible presenter and communicator. But what we want to see out of these 3 days for you is you writing all 5 of these talks. If you will get these talks written out and perfected, you will begin to become unstoppable. So you got to get them written and you got to get coached around them, and you will become unstoppable. So today, day one, we tackled this one. Day 2, tomorrow, we will tackle these middle 3, which is going to be unbelievable tomorrow with Eric and Pat. And day 2, tomorrow. And then day 3 on Thursday, we will show how you use your story and your signature talk to build your company. That's what we're doing on Thursday. Thursday, everybody goes backstage. Everybody, you'll get a link to be able to come backstage with us for free. It won't cost you to be backstage with us on Thursday. And either Thursday or Friday, we will announce the 10 people who on Saturday, we'll have them come on Saturday on the bonus training, same time, and you'll get to hear 10 people share their stories, and Eric, Pat, myself, and other people coach those folks. That might be one of the most valuable days. And I asked Eric if we wanted to do it last night, and he said, absolutely. So make sure you put Saturday down on your calendar as well, because that will be the accumulation of you actually seeing the demonstration of somebody sharing their story powerfully, but yet still being coached on how they can take it to the next level. Guys, our whole goal and our whole thing is master these 5, build these 5, and become a master of them, and watch what happens in your network marketing business. And so tomorrow, same time, same place, Eric said, go share your story in this group, #mystory. Go make sure your team shares the story and takes on the challenge. Share this training with your team. And he also said to smash that share button as well. He gave out a bunch of prizes for today. And so we will see you guys back here tomorrow at the same time, same place. Have an incredible night. Can't wait to see those stories light up the Facebook group. We'll see you tomorrow.